Welcome back to Ginger Cat DIY, the place where I do stuff, and you can too. Have you ever read the book, If You Give a Mouse a Cookie? I went to Michael's recently and it went a little bit like that. If you take a crafter to Michael's, they're going to want to buy canvas. And when they look for canvases, they're going to be distracted by Halloween. Here's how that went.
What are we here for?
Canvases. I only need canvases. Just canvases. Just canvases. I mean, they're canvases.
Babies.
No thanks, I'm not free. Only canvases? What is it?
It's a Halloween accordion.
Only canvases? Fall. No thanks, I already did. I'm only here for canvases, but we're in clearance. They're only $5. I can get like 100.
What?
Hold on. 2.
That's better.
100. Only need canvases. Only here for canvases. Well done.
Did you remember canvases?
Just kidding. I did end up buying some canvases, and I didn't use them. I had some still at home, but I had forgot that I had some. In our last video, Blondie Poodle mentioned that she really liked my watercolor painting, and I did do some crafts for her new bedroom. I showed you the Yetis, and here's what the dogs look like. Hopefully I edited something right there. Now, she gave me far too much credit for this technique, and a lot of it had to do with the very pigmented watercolor that I used and a very simple technique that I used. And I'm going to show you how I did that. I'm also going to show you how I messed it up and then made it better and then made it worse. And worse. And worse. Yep. And worse. Check it out. Canvas. Paints. Paintbrush. Towel. Cup of water. So I like to use a nice simple watercolor, nothing fancy. It's by Coloration, and a nice lovely canvas. This is a 9x12. Look at it, feel it, love it. Do some graphics here. Yep, it's a canvas. I'm doing a rainbow, so I pick a spot right there to start my spectrum. I don't know why. You just pick a spot and get some water and notice, ooh, still getting water. My nerdy crafter paintbrush. Prime your brush, lots of water in that. When you're using these pre-pulled canvases, make sure that you really get some fluid in there. They tend to be a little bit dry and there's some air pockets in there, but just keep doing this. Wipe your brush going with the direction of the bristles to make them last longer. Now, the thing about yellow is that you really need to make sure that you saturate the yellow. The yellow needs to take up a lot of territory at first, because when you use yellow, the orange and the green will just take over, just invade all of the yellow. So make sure that you're going strong with that yellow, and you'll see why soon. Another thing that I like to do when I'm doing paintings is to wrap my canvas. I like to put the color on the sides, and that way it just gives it a really good finished look. Otherwise, tape the edges of your canvases so that the paint doesn't get on the edges and you have some really crisp lines. Oopsie, got some contamination in there. It's fine, it's watercolor. You can just wipe off the top layer and you're fine, and you can go about your business. Okay, yellow. You don't need that much territory. Leave some for the rest of us. Again, it's watercolor. It's wet. Just wipe it off. It'll be fine. My microphone's here somewhere. So, my friends, this is where I make my first mistake. And I add a lot of color. I'm obsessed with pink and I just want more pink here. So I apply my slappy wappy flippy whippy technique of just slathering so much pigment here. I just wanted more pink. I thought it looked cool. It was really great. But the thing about watercolor, it's not just water. There's paint in there. It's just really diluted until it's thick.
So now, this is me as a kid. This is the woman's voice. See how I sound as a dude. This is me as a man. This is the devil. This is my new favorite one. Oh, let's try the devil voice with the echo on. How's this sound? I'm a devil in the canyon. I'm a devil in a canyon, everybody.
Get a what?
The heat tool.
The heat tool. The heat tool. The heat tool.
Oh yes, the heat tool. I wanted to dry faster. If I just would have let it set for another 10 minutes, it would have been fine. Orient it however you want. You can see how this dried differently than how it was wet. I decided to go with it at this angle because of this mess right here. This part looks kind of cool, so I'm going to have to angle my unicorn this way just so that I can cover up that big thick patch right there. So let's get started on my little sketchy wetchy. Are you helping? Give that an approval. Have you approved it? So why do I paint from the bottle directly? And here's why. When I mix paints, I am not good about cleaning them out. I have advanced ADHD and cleaning palettes is not on my agenda. Crap. It bubbled the paint and removed it from some spots. If less is more, then more is better. So I added more paint, but it just took a weird shine to it. So I thought, I'll just Mod Podge it, and that's going to make it better because then it'll be shiny. And I did that off camera, and it ruined it even more. So because I used a brush and then I used a sponge tip, it just changed all the textures. So I sanded it down, repainted it, and then added another layer of Mod Podge, and that fixed it, more or less. So here's one of the problems. The little tube that I used is matte paint, and the bigger tube I used is more of a satin finish. And then I used a gloss Mod Podge, and all of these different textures did different things. So when I used the sponge gave it a nice soft texture. And when I went in and I used the brush gave it a streaky, bubbly texture. So when I sanded it, that sort of helped, and then it just went into a disaster mode when it dried. So I like to use a sponge tip applicator when I use Mod Podge because it just leaves everything so smooth. I just cut off the dry Mod Podge parts because I've never washed a sponge and it come back clean. When I originally painted it, I painted it with the matte finish, and when I used the heat tool, it bubbled it and gave it a weird texture. When I sanded it and repainted it, I used the satin finish, and then the Mod Podge gave everything a weird texture. Be done. Don't touch it. Be done. So what happened when I had repainted it, there were little black speckles all over the place, and I tried to reincorporate that into my design, and I covered it with the white Posca marker to camouflage it a little bit from a distance. And then I thought, ooh, these should be cute little speckled moments. And then I thought, ooh, maybe these should be stars. So here I'm just taking them and turning some of them into kind of a bright star. And that worked. I really did just leave it after that. And I think that was a much safer choice because I just really wanted to make the whole background a galaxy image, and I didn't. So I think that we left well enough alone, well enough. You'll notice also that the watercolor reacts differently with the Mod Podge. The Mod Podge smeared the watercolor in a really cool effect, and I really like that. So now we're done. Leave it alone. Voila! Leave it alone. I tell you, that's a lot of things not to do. Here's how you not do this craft. And I learned a lot. I've done this a lot. The biggest difference with the dog activity and the unicorn activity was I had used my Cricut to cut out the vinyl for the dogs. And the biggest difference between the Yetis and the Bigfoot was that I had used mixed media. I painted the foot and used alcohol ink to do shading and exaggerated features, and then used fun fur for the furry legs. So I don't know why this one just stumped me on so many levels. That's not true. That's not true. I know exactly why. I got so impatient, so incredibly impatient. I looked at my art and I went, I am high level. I am so beyond this little menial little craft that I do for my middle schoolers, and use tools I shouldn't have used. Take your time. Don't rush. It's a fun activity, and in the end, it looked great. I saved it. In real life, you can see some of the texturing issues when you're up close, but how often do you go to somebody's house and then look at their paintings like this? Oh yes, I see your texturing. It's very awkward. You don't go up to people's artwork at their home and get that close. Do experiment. Try something different. I'm not saying that. Absolutely. Try new techniques. Try something you haven't done before. Try mediums with other mediums. Try techniques you've never done. Try techniques that you've done a lot in a different way. And learn from people who've made mistakes. Share mistakes you've made. Have you ever crafted something that you were just on point and then epically failed on? Let me know. I want to hear your stories. What's something that you thought you were going to completely screw up and it turned into a masterpiece? So, like, comment, subscribe, notification bell, and I'll see you next time. Next time, it's going to be really fun. I guess you'll have to tune in and find out. Bye. Episode and video sounds dumb. Can I call my things episodes? In the last thrilling episode of Ginger Cat DIY, we left our hero dangling on a cliff. You might call it a cliff dangler. My iPad, I have a little sticker. It's a cat butt sticker.
For you.
Because you know me, I am sportsing girl.
Yes.
I always think that this looks like one of the Star Trek weapons.
Oh, you had like a chunky phaser.
Yeah. Pew, 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 pew. Vzz.